Welcome to the Forever Better Academy podcast, where you will be given the principles, tools, and techniques to reach the next stage on your journey of self-mastery. Who could you become? I'm your host, Wade Vincent. Have you ever had to pawn your possessions to put food on the table? I have. And I can tell you right now, it's not a nice experience. It's not a nice feeling. And it very much feels as a man and provider for the family that I was letting my whole family down. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is really the importance of creating that buffer, giving yourself that freedom to breathe, that opportunity to put things in place that really help you when inevitably bad times come, that you have some protective measures in place, right? So our family very much used to live week to week, right? So it seems like it's a very typical thing. You know, you hear many of the statistics all around the place. You know, most people are living on that week to week. You know, they can barely afford to sort of survive if things go wrong, right? And it's a very challenging position to be in if you're in a spot where suddenly your income or occupation changes or is taken away from you. It's real dire straits, right? It's a very serious concern and a horrible place to be in, right? Now that was pretty much our situation, literally to the point where when it got to that moment where I had to sell some of my watches and just little possessions and things and jewelry and things like that you know were special items to me and things that, you know, had sentimental value and meaning from loved ones, which is another horrible experience and feeling. And knowing that when you pawn those things and borrow money to buy food, knowing that to get those items back and pay that loan back, it's costing you more money, right? It's a trap, right? When you're in that position and you don't have enough money to put food on the table without taking those measures, and then on top of that, to get those items back, you've got to pay more money than and you're even further behind, right? You haven't solved the problem, and this is something I really had to learn the hard way and go through this, you know, where I've spoken about this in the past. My mother was not good at money, not good with money at all. No understanding of money, and it's not to her fault. You know, I don't. It's not an attack on my mother in any sense. It's really, when you have family that doesn't know those things, how are you meant to learn them, right? Until you start looking and broadening your horizons and talking to people that do understand money. And the habits and the traits and the way that they operate, that you start to take on those principles and get better, right? Like anything, money's a tool. That's all it is, right? The people have such, deep feelings and emotional connection to money, and it's like metal and paper and plastic. Like its innate value is worth very little, but it's a social contract that we have between each other, that we assign value to these objects that allow us to trade, right? So in that early days when I had my when our boys were very little, absolutely I was driving trucks and we were living week to week, and I had this immense desire more than anything to one, create security for my family, two, to create freedom for them, and three, to be able to provide opportunities for my boys and for my partner and I as well, because the opportunities for us to grow and experience, like, life doesn't end when you have children. You've still got to grow and experience things and become better yourself as well, right? So wanted to provide all of these different things for our family, and I was getting up at 5 a.m, starting work at 5:30, driving trucks for 12 to 14 hours a day, making no, not really any money, like nothing significant, right? And this is to a point that I want to talk on as well. Is really you get paid, or how much you get paid correlates to the amount of value that you add, right? Everything I've spoke about this before is an exchange, it's a transaction, right? And the higher skilled you are, the more competent, the greater amount of capability and skills that you have, it will increase the amount that you're compensated for those skills. So when I'm driving a truck, right, uh, I would say at that point in my life, it was the best money that I could make with the least skills, with the smallest skill set, right? And that's why I got into it. I was a qualified chef, and I would make very little money as a fully qualified chef. And I found out through some friends that were in similar positions that I could drive a truck and deliver the food to the kitchens that I used to work in and make more money dropping food off than cooking the stuff. So it was a no brainer to me, right? So I took the a job as a furniture removalist, and through the company they provided and would pay for guys to get their truck licenses. So that was the incentive why people come on board, right? So got my truck license, and so did every other guy that worked there. So there was nothing that differentiated me from anyone else, right? It's not even a skill. It's a permit, right? Anyone can get it. I was super replaceable. There's no value in me, right? Other than I can show up and do the work. But as I said, so can every other guy, right? Absolutely. I wasn't adding any value to the company whatsoever, and I was paid accordingly. And this is the thing, right, where you get in that trap of selling your time for money, which is another a topic for another day. But just on a key point there to take away, the value of your time is worth more than anything. It's the greatest resource you will ever have. And I was very much stuck in a mindset of I want to be paid for every minute that I do, and I was so intent and set on selling my time for money. Do not sell your time for money. Find something of value that you can scale and grow and build and sell over and over again without you needing to commit or incorporate or factor in any of your time other than building that product, right? So back to being super stressed, freaking out, constantly, week to week with our bills, even down to, as I say, had to pawn items just to put food on the table, and it was a really hard day for me that day. The first time I had to do that, and it changes something in you. I very much felt like a failure, like I didn't say I'd hit rock bottom, but I felt like I was hitting it, right, and it became apparent to me that something had to change. And I may have spoken about this in another episode of the podcast where I was getting every day I was driving the truck, almost every day, a bee would fly into the truck, and it was unwell or hurting or something was wrong with the bee, and it would die. And at first I thought, okay, it's a coincidence, it's odd, a couple of times it happened, and it made me think there's something here. The universe is trying to tell me something, right? And I picked up on it and didn't figure it out and ignored it, and it started happening again, right? Over and over and over, till I basically interpreted it as that I was a worker bee, and if I continued to do that, I would work until I die. And I've watched guys I was working with who were in their late 60s still busting their ass, physically working like the young guys in their 20s. And no disrespect to any of those guys, they're hard workers and they provide for their families, but it wasn't for me. I knew I couldn't keep going on like that. I knew I had to do more, and I needed to get myself out of that position. So as soon as I interpreted that as I needed to make a change, otherwise I'm going to die in this position, the bees stopped coming, right? It's a weird thing, right? But definitely a message that I picked up on a wake up call, right? So the challenge when you're living week to week, right, in that position and working, like selling my time 14-hour days, busting my ass, like for very little return. Only way I was making extra money was selling more of my time, doing overtime, right? That was how we'd make it up. Well, you couldn't survive in those jobs on 40 hours a week. You could not. I don't even know how some of those guys who had like 4 or 5 kids, I don't know how they survived. I honestly don't know how they provided, because I was struggling with 2 kids, right? And so you must build this buffer, right? You've got to get yourself into a position, right, where you have a surplus. You need to get that excess. If this is the water level here and your bills are at the same level and your expenses, you need to pull the money higher. And there's only 2 ways to do that. One is reduce your expenses, which is finite. There's only so much of that you can do. There's only so much cutting back you can do. And two, you can earn more money. And there's no limit to how much money you can earn. It's really down to you and what you can provide and the value you can bring to the world. There is no limit to the amount of money that you can earn, right? It's all mindset. It's all up here. Don't give yourself a limitation, right? Countless people have made it from absolute slum homeless and have become multimillionaires and billionaires, right? Well and truly, it's possible for every one of us, I promise you. Now, the hardest part when you're in this position, and this is a very challenging reality to face, is the world keeps moving without you. With or without you, right? It doesn't have any emotional connection to you. It's just things keep moving, right? This is how our society operates, and it was super challenging watching the prices of things rise, and watching the unions and everyone trying to fight for us as drivers to make more money. And you'd watch inflation would go up, say 5% a year, and you'd get a pay rise of 1.5%, maybe 2% a year, right? So automatically, every year that I continued to work in that position, my money was worth less. There's something that I can't stress enough. It's so important to factor this in, and this is something I didn't know or learn till I was older, because, as I said, my mum didn't understand money like this, and it's important to factor in. You have to account for that inflation and the amount that your money is being devalued as they print more money and it's less and less scarce. There's more of it. It holds less value. It means nothing. So this year, if you're making, let's say, if we go with those base level figures, right? If you're making, to keep the maths easy, $100,000 a year, and you get no pay rise next year, and inflation goes up 5%, next year your 100,000 is only worth 95,000. Surreal, right? Like that's what's going on all around us right now, whether we like it or not. That is absolutely happening to each and every one of us, and the value of our money is decreasing every single year, if not monthly, daily, like depending on how the markets are moving. So the further stress, the compounding stress of knowing I can't afford things now and my money is going to buy me less next year and the year after is something that slaps you in the face, and it's something you can't ignore, right? So this is what I was going through, and I knew that I had to do something, right? And the emotional struggle beyond like the external pressures of the world and the economy was being so afraid when I would go and look for jobs. We have like what's called sort of job networks here that that the sort of the government puts money into, and the whole concept is to help with employment and help people find jobs. And if I'm being totally honest with you, they're absolutely useless and a waste of taxpayer money, because they don't really care about providing jobs for people. It's more about, hitting targets and quotas and making themselves look good. And that was exactly the experience that I went through day in, day out. I'd go to those places and never got a job. No matter how committed or dedicated I was to continue looking for better jobs, there weren't opportunities. So I had to make my own opportunities, right? You cannot rely on the system to provide for you, right? That was a huge lesson for me. When you're, angry and protesting, and as I was, I was angry at the government, but it was really anger at myself. The government didn't put me in that position. I put me in that position. I put my family in that position, right? And when I take ownership of that and I accept it for what it is, then I can do something about it, right? That's all it comes down to, and it's empowering because I'm able to make an impact. Once I take ownership, I'm back in control of it, right? So I would go to these job network places. I'd be looking for work, and you'd search through and filter down to the options. And when the only skill that I had was a truck license, which wasn't even a skill, it was a permit. Is a finite amount of jobs that were available to me that I could apply for. And knowing that window of opportunity was shrinking and small and so tiny that it didn't matter how much money I wanted to earn, all it came down to was, do I want to earn X amount of dollars working for this company? Or do I want to earn the same amount of money working for a different company? That was it. Like there was nowhere else for me to go with that, right? So it was immensely challenging. Going through that and not being able to do anything about the situation I was in. I could do something about it, but in the sense of the limitations that I was facing based upon the limitations of my skill set. Now, as I say, I wasn't worth much value to the world. Right, and that's a harsh reality to face, but you have to go through that realization to do something about it, right? So we only had resources available to us as a family equivalent to what I was bringing to the world, which wasn't very much, and that's why we didn't have a lot, right? So when I understood that, and I knew I could do something about it, I started to consider what am I interested in and what skills do I need to learn that are going to help me and my ability to earn more money for my family so I can create that buffer that I'm speaking of, right? So having this realization that the more value that I add to the world, that the more the world will compensate me. And the easiest way that I can truly understand this and distill it is one of those cliche sayings that you think is just, it's like common knowledge that doesn't really mean anything, but it kind of does, and everyone knows it does, but you hear it so much that it loses value. And that's really that you must give first to receive. That's the principle, right? It's age old, it's timeless, and it still holds true, right? The more that I work on and fill my cup, build myself up, build up my skills, give that out to the world, I will be rewarded accordingly. Give first, receive second, right? You can't just expect the world to give you all of these opportunities and money and luxuries and nice homes, nice cars and beautiful partners and everything you ever desire. Why would the universe give to you first? There's no incentive in that trade, right? As I said, everything's an interaction. Everything is transactional, right? So you have to put out good energy again, and again that element. It's karma, right? What you put out, you get back. What goes around comes around. All these things that you've probably heard a million times that you ignore what they truly mean and what they stand for, because I know that I did. That's what it comes down to. What can you commit and bring to the world that will provide you with all that you desire? everything you desire can be yours, right? Everything you desire, if you're prepared to work and put the effort in and earn it. So when I had this realization and I understood and knew that this was, within my control, and I had the ability to take action and do something about it, I skilled up. So I knew that sales was a life skill. I was like, okay, something I should learn. It just felt like the next natural progression for me. I need to learn how to sell. It's an important skill. It's one of those, the skills that will serve you. It's not just job specific, right? It's a very useful, tangible skill that can provide very, very well for you and your family. So I focused on educating myself, reading like every single day, buying books on this stuff, investing in myself, and this is the hard part, right? This is part of that. It almost seems counterintuitive, right? Spending money when you don't have money is challenging, but if you know you're spending money investing it in yourself and the future you that you can become, it is money well spent. It pays for itself tenfold over, right? Like, you think about how many times you might go to a cafe, go buy some alcohol, packet of cigarettes if you're a smoker, go check a movie, pay for Netflix, right? What's your priority? $20, or if you read ebooks, $5, $10, $15 invested in filling your mind with new concepts, new thoughts, new experiences, new ideas, pays for itself 10 times over. What's better value to you? A $20 book with information that will change and impact your life, and you're never the same after you've read it. You're a whole new person, or few coffees a week. Like, it's priorities, right? What's important to you, and you get to decide, right? Whatever you want it to be. If the coffee's more important, buy the coffee, but know what it comes with, right? You can't be upset about the position you're in if your actions don't reflect, the position you want to be in. That's simple, right? That's that simple, and that's the things I've changed. And that's why I do this and share this with you guys. Points where changed my eating habits, changed my exercise habits, changed my study habits, learned about finances, skilled up, and easily 4 times the amount of money I make in a year, easily. And I'm trying to go 10 times beyond that. And how do I get to the next stage? What do I need to learn to achieve the next desire that I have, the next dream, the next goal, the next ambition, right? How do I build that into my operating system, my mindset that provides for our family, and I keep that buffer that protects us and gives us the security, the freedom, and those opportunities that I speak of. That's why. That's my why, the desire to have control and freedom and opportunities over my life and my family, and how we provide and I give to them, right? It's all it comes down to. Go back and find out why do you want to do these things? What's the root cause? And when you're obsessed with that and and you won't compromise on that, it's very easy to proceed from that point, because you've committed to it and made the decision, right? So when I skilled up, got better at sales, learn about tech, learn about marketing, learn about products, learn about information as a commodity, content creation, crypto, NFTs, everything that I need to continue my growth trajectory, that's going to continue to push me beyond that point where, as I say, I'm learning how to use my money to make more money and grow it, and understand that I need to beat that inflation, right? Build that buffer, because if you've got, and that's another thing, right? You got that buffer, you got money sitting in a bank account, it's losing value. So you have to make the money work for you. That money needs to be put to work, right? You can't be afraid. You have to go through these motions and learn and experience these things. And I know, because I've done them and gone through these experiences, that our family's far better off because of it, right? Like, and the hardest part was when I switched my first job in sales, going from driving a truck and selling my time and basically making my wages through overtime. When I went into a sales job and I was paid a salary, my pay dropped $20,000 a year. $20,000 difference a year is so scary when you're in a position to basically in a position where we're struggling paying week to week and sinking further into debt because I've taken a leap of faith knowing that my investment in myself and my skill set will pay off immensely, and it has, right? Like, it's a scary thing when you have to make further sacrifice, one step back to go two forward, right? Like, it was so hard going further into debt every week. Like, we went to a point where I didn't even have enough money. I was building debt, but I knew, because I was committed, I knew this was a way forward for our family. So I had to suck it up and put that effort and the commitment in, knowing that eventually I'd be in a position where I can pay that debt, it's gone, and then I'm still at that higher level where I'm earning more and I can continue to grow from there. And it's immense, the change. Like, the person that I am now compared to 10 years ago, it's two different people. Mindset, thoughts, abilities, capabilities. It's so hard to explain. I can give you the stories and the experiences and these tools and principles and the things you can use, that you can take these actual experiences and tools that I'm providing and use them today. And but just like, until you go through these things, you don't really know until you experience it. And I wish for anyone that's in that position that I was in to find that, have that buffer, have that freedom, and not stress, because that, like, if things go pear-shaped, you've got it covered. It makes life far more enjoyable, and it allows you to take your focus away from money and stress and enjoy everything wonderful around us, right? That's one of the most beautiful outcomes is peace of mind, clarity, freedom to be in control of outcomes of my life to the extent that I can be, right? Now, ultimately, I managed to become more valuable to the world because of these newfound skills that I have developed, and I earn more money, and I've been able to buy the freedom for our family. We don't live week to week anymore, and I'm continuing. By no means am I finished my journey. I'm early, and I'm looking to grow more and provide more and just build and give my sons and my wife the most wonderful life and experience that I can provide for them, because it's a life well lived. That's success to me. That's what it means to me, right? So maybe you have a different definition, but I know that gives me purpose and fills me with joy, and it's all been possible because of being able to create that buffer and build my resources, right? So as a man, it doesn't get much better than that, right? Like, it's a wonderful feeling, like going from selling our things to put food on the table to being able to eat whatever we wish, virtually whenever we wish. Like, it's a wonderful thing, right? I'm very thankful for the lessons that were passed on to me over these years, and this is why I pass them on to you, because I know the impact and the change that it's made on my life, and I want the same for you guys. So as I say, who could you become? All right, guys, this is Wade Vincent. Thank you for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully there's some value in this, and you will now put that effort in. If you don't have that buffer, you'll go up, build your skills up, and put that buffer aside and buy that freedom and opportunity that your family deserves. All right, guys, I'll talk to you next Friday. Thanks again, and stay safe.